Hello everyone, I am DeepanshiSingh and today in this video I am going to give you a summary of the process oogenesis. Okay, so oogenesis comes under gametogenesis. As the name suggests, gametogenesis, that is the formation of gametes. We know that there are two types of gametes, a male gamete called sperm and a female gamete called ova. And in this video, I will be focusing on oogenesis. But before this, I want to discuss the importance of this process. Like, what is the need of this process? So the answer is for the continuation of the generations. We know that a new life begins after the formation of zygote. And for the formation of zygote, fertilization should occur. And for this, there should be a male and a female gamete, which could only be formed after the process of gametogenesis. So, now let's understand the process of oogenesis. But before this, I want to tell you the site of oogenesis. In human beings or in mammals, the oogenesis takes place in the ovary. In humans, there is one pair of ovary present. As I already told you that oogenesis is the process of formation of female gamete, that is ova. This process of oogenesis is not continuous. This process of oogenesis gets arrested several times. Oogenesis begins in the embryonic life of the female fetus. The process begins when the PGCs or the primordial germ cells migrate from the yolk sac of the embryo to the developing ovaries. There, these PGCs or the primordial germ cells undergo mitosis, which is an equational division. That is, from one PGC, two daughter cells will be formed containing equal amount of the genetic material and the equal amount of cytoplasm. This process of cell division or the mitosis will occur numerous times, which lead to the formation of primary oocyte. Around 2 million primary oocytes are present in each developing ovary of the embryo. These primary oocytes are surrounded by the pregranulosa cells, which leads to the formation of the primordial follicle, and then primordial follicle transforms into primary follicle when the primary oocyte gets surrounded by the granulosa cells, and the process of meiosis 1 starts, but it gets arrested at the meiosis 1 prophase 1 diplotin stage. By this time, the 9 months of gestation period gets over and the parturition occurs. Now, the primary follicles, which were numerous in number, they will decrease as they get ruptured, and this degeneration of the primary follicles is called atresia. Till the time of puberty, only 40 to 60 thousands of primary follicle remain in the ovary. Now, from the birth till the puberty, there will be no significant growth or division will be seen in the primary follicles. But as soon as the puberty hits, by the influence of the hormones, that is the LH, luteinizing hormone, and the FSH or follicle stimulating hormone. These hormones comes when the hypothalamus, master of the master gland, secretes GnRH, and due to this, the anterior lobe of pituitary gland secretes gonadotropin, which acts upon the ovary, and ovary releases FSH, that is the follicle stimulating hormone, which stimulates the growth of the primary follicle, and the luteinizing hormones help in the process of ovulation. So, By the influence of FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, the primary follicle, which was arrested at the prophase 1 of diplotin stage, initiates the process again. Now, outside the granulosa cells, another layer forms which is called the thecal layer, which is made up of theca cells. This structure is called as the secondary follicle. Now, secondary follicle gets converted to the tertiary follicle, in which there is a formation of secondary oocyte. As the meiosis 1 gets completed, and due to this a polar body generates. Polar body contains less amount of cytoplasm and hence it is smaller. As we know that cytoplasm contains the nutritive material which gives nourishment to the developing zygote. So, major portion of the cytoplasm is with the secondary oocyte, not with the polar body. Apart from this, the tertiary follicle shows another structural difference, that is the thecal layer differentiates and forms a theca externa outer layer and a theca interna inner layer. These two layers, that is the theca externa and theca interna, play an important role in the formation of the androgens. Just after the granulosa cells, these two layers are present, that is the theca externa and the theca interna. Now, this tertiary follicle grows more and more and gets transformed into the Graafian follicle. The Graafian follicle contains various new layer formation, that is the formation of the zona pellucida outside the secondary oocyte, and the zona pellucida is surrounded by another layer called corona radiata. Now, this structure comes closer to the germinal epithelium of the ovary, and the secondary oocyte oozes out from the ovary, and it is catched by the finger-like projections called fimbriae. And this secondary oocyte waits in the fallopian tube for the sperm at meiosis 2 metaphase stage. If the fertilization occurs, then secondary oocyte will be converted into an fertilized ova, and this will lead to the formation of a third polar body. If fertilization does not take place, then the secondary oocyte disintegrates and meiosis 2 is not completed. Ovulation normally takes place about 14 days before to the beginning of the subsequent menstrual period in a typical 28-day menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle is regulated by hormones. Luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which are produced by the pituitary gland, promote ovulation and stimulate the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone stimulate the uterus and breast to prepare for possible fertilization. During the luteal phase, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone levels are decreased. The ruptured follicle closes after releasing the egg and forms a corpus luteum, which produces progesterone. During most of this phase, the estrogen level is high. Progesterone and estrogen causes the lining of the uterus to thicken more to prepare for possible fertilization. If the egg is not fertilized, the corpus luteum degenerates and no longer produces progesterone. The estrogen level decreases. The two layers of the lining break down and are shed, and menstrual bleeding occurs, the start of a new menstrual cycle. If the egg is fertilized, the corpus luteum continues to function. This was all about the process of oogenesis. Thank you for your attention.